And you and me were meant to be a little lower.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I really hope that your week went well. Today we're going to end up discussing a little bit about the story of Abraham, and we're going to introduce him to everybody. He played a pretty significant role in God's redemptive story. And so the last time we talked about Noah and his family, and several generations have passed since the flood, and the earth is obviously repopulated. And there's a guy in the land of the Chaldeans by the name of Abraham. And we get to see that God called him out, and we'll see where this is part of God's continued plan of redemption with mankind, and He uses Abraham. So be looking for the promise of the birth of a nation, and also the Messiah that comes from that nation. The hook question tonight is, if someone asked you to stop everything you were doing in your life and go do something else, more exciting, would you? Why or why not? For transition time, I would just go ahead and read what is written right there. It says, this week we will see God continue His plan to make a way for humanity to be in a right relationship with Him. So go ahead and turn to Genesis 12, 1 through 9. And it starts with, the Lord had said to Abraham, leave your native country, your relatives, your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who treat you with contempt. All families on the earth will be blessed through you. So Abraham grabbed his family and his stuff and took off. He was 75 at the time, and he landed in the land of Canaan, and that's modern-day Israel and Jordan, and he worshiped the Lord and set up altars. So here's the story from God's Word. After Abram had done what God asked him and had been in Canaan for a while with his family, he had a vision. God told him not to be afraid, because He is going to protect him and give him a great reward. Abram thought about it for a minute and asked, Lord, what good are all these blessings if I can't hand them down to my son? I don't have any kids, so I'm going to have to give everything to the guy who runs my estate, Eliezer. He'll inherit everything, and not my family. And God said, Eliezer isn't going to be the one who gets your stuff. You will have a son of your own. He will be the heir and inherit your blessings. And God told Abraham, go outside. I want to show you something. So Abram did. God said, look up. Check out all the stars in the sky. Try to count them. That's like how many descendants I will bless you with. Abram simply believed God. The Lord said to Abraham, I brought you from where you were to here for a good reason. I want to give you this land. And Abram asked God, I know, but how can I be sure? Abram, God said, go grab a 3-year-old cow, sheep, ram, a turtle dove, and a pigeon. I'm going to show you how you can know for sure. So Abram grabbed the animals that God said to get. He presented them to God and killed them, each one by one. He cut the animals in half, except for the birds. Then he waited. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and an oppressive darkness fell over him. God spoke and said, you can bet that your descendants will be foreigners in a strange land, and be slaves there for 400 years. But I'll take care of them and punish the nation that enslaves them. They will return to this land. So the sun went down, and Abram saw a smoking firepot walk between the halves of the sacrificed animals. And God made a covenant with Abram. He said, I've given this land to your descendants. And that's the story from God's Word. So by now, you guys know that you need to reconstruct together. Again, please help people get started. Spoon feed them a little bit if you can, and then read it together. The big four questions are basically, the same as always. What do we learn about God from this story? I really want to take a minute and talk about this. We read about the sacrifice and the animals being cut in half and then laid out, and that's you need to understand something. In Eastern culture, when a greater king or chieftain was making a deal or a promise or a treaty with a lesser king or chieftain, this is what they would do. They would take animals and they'd cut them in half, and then they would write up terms and conditions of the agreement. And basically, then after that, they would walk barefoot through the blood, through the two animals that are through the two halves of the animals. And in a sense, what they were saying is, if I don't keep up my end of the bargain or my end of the covenant, may this happen to me. And so this is significant. And notice that Abraham, he didn't have to walk through it. God walked through it. And he was doing something that Abraham would have recognized as one king or one chief to another, because he was, again, promising Abraham that he was going to be the father of a great nation. So just kind of an interesting little side note on that. I know some people read that and, oh, that's gruesome and stuff, but man, that's just how they did business. And your word was everything. It was a matter of life or death, especially among nations or tribes. As far as extra questions go, the first one is, what was God's covenant or promise to Abram? You see in the opening of 12, you see that he will bless those who bless him and curse those who curse him, and he will be a blessing to all nations. And that's really the heart of the idea of the Messiah there. And then of course the land that where Abraham was standing, you could see God defines the borders there in the end of 15. Did God fulfill his promise right away? Why? Well, obviously not. It really doesn't get fulfilled until after Joshua goes in and takes the promised land, and that's pretty significant. But more significant is it really doesn't get fulfilled to Abraham until Jesus Christ hits the scene, is sacrificed, and then is risen from the dead, and the church is born. That's the major fulfillment of this prophecy. And then the third one is, how does this relate to the Messiah? Well, I kind of already talked about that, but you can definitely be talking about that in your group. Moving on to the second page, really like the things to do between the group this time. It says drop a note in the mail or email or Facebook post to the people in your group this week. Let them know one thing that you appreciate about them. Really take the time to do this if you could. If not everybody in your group, just, somebody. Make time and effort to do that. It says maybe partner up with someone from your group this week and work on the memory verse for this week. And the memory verse, I'm actually going to read it. It's from Hebrews 11:8 and 9. It says, "It was by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave home and to go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith. For he was like a foreigner, living in tents, and so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited the same promise." So we actually see in this verse the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham played out through a couple of generations. So really cool stuff. I hope this helps, guys, and have a great week. And again, if you got any feedback or whatever on these videos, let me know. I appreciate it. All right. God bless you.